We are going to begin in the Middle East, where Iran's supreme leader is warning that any U.S. involvement in the conflict with Israel would, quote, cause irreparable damage. Now, those comments come as Israel and Iran continue trading attacks for a sixth straight day. President Trump has issued an ultimatum calling for Iran to unconditionally surrender, his words. As sources are telling CBS News that President Trump is considering whether the United States would join Israel in targeting Iranian nuclear facilities. Right now, the president is speaking to reporters at a flagpole ceremony at the White House. Let's dip in.
Or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit. That was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late, though? Do you think it's too late to now?
Really, nothing's too late. The only thing too late is Powell. Powell's too late. Too late, Powell.
Have the Iranians reached out to you, Mr. President?
What?
Have the Iranians reached out to you?
Yes.
And what did you say?
I said it's very late. I said it's very late to be talking. We may meet. It's. I don't know. There's a big difference between now and a week ago, right? Big difference.
You said we may meet. Isabel said we may meet. Is this about Vance and with possibly going to talk about?
It's about anybody. They even suggested they come to the White House. It's a big difference. But they've suggested that they come to the White House. That's courageous, but it's like not easy for them to do. But they suggest, because I can't go now because of what's going on. I had to come back early from the G7, which was terrific, by the way, in Canada. Really terrific, good people.
Is there a possibility of next week or sooner that
Well, I don't know how much longer it's going to go on. I mean, they're totally defenseless. They have no air defense whatsoever. We've totally captured. We've totally captured the air, Brian.
Yeah, Mr. President, you've been fairly compassionate towards the Iranian people's suggestions.
I know a lot of people from Iran, from New York, from Washington, mostly from New York. They're incredible people. They're smart. They're energetic. They can be difficult, but so can you. No, they're great people. They're smart people. And those people are getting the hell beat out of them now. And it's really a shame. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It's another one. Russia, Ukraine is so stupid. Would have never happened if I was president. You guys agree with that, right? Would have never happened if I was president. Putin would have never done it. And I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, he actually offered to help mediate. I said, do me a favor. Mediate your own. Let's mediate Russia first, okay? I said, Vladimir, let's mediate Russia first. You can worry about this later. But I think that's going to work out, too. But so many people have been killed. The big thing with that one is far more people are dead than have been reported in the Ukraine, Russia. Many, many more people. A building falls down. They say nobody was hurt. It's like ridiculous.
Question on deportation.
Unconditional surrender. Two very simple words. Very simple. Unconditional surrender. That means I've had it. Okay, I've had it. I give up. No more. Then we go blow up all the all the nuclear stuff that's all over the place there. No, they had bad intentions. For 40 years they've been saying death to America, death to Israel, death to anybody else that they didn't like. They were bullies. They were schoolyard bullies. And now they're not bullies anymore, but we'll see what happens. Look, nothing's finished until it's finished. War is very complex. A lot of bad things can happen. A lot of turns are made. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that we won anything yet. I would say that we sure as hell made a lot of progress, and we'll see. The next week is going to be very big, maybe less than a week, maybe less. But is there anybody here that said it would be okay to have a hostile, very, zealots really, but to have a hostile country have a nuclear weapon that could destroy 25 miles, but much more than that, could destroy other nations just by the breeze blowing the dust? That dust blows to other nations and they get decimated. This is just not a threat you can have. And we've been threatened by Iran for many years. If you go back and look at my history, if you go back 15 years, I was saying we cannot let Iran get a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time, and I mean it more now than I ever meant it. Yeah.
Mr. President, a question on deportations, Mr. President. You said last week that changes would be coming for farmers who have seen a lot of the workers they rely on taken away. But then DHS said this week that worksite enforcement would remain in place, that it's a cornerstone. So what's your message to farmers?
We got to get the bad people out of here first, and we're doing that. We're taking them out by the thousands. Murderers, drug dealers, people that are mentally insane from insane asylums. What they gave to us, fellas, they gave. Oh, do we have anybody in here that's a member of the? No, I don't think so. You've known all these people for a long time. Any illegal immigrants in here now? If they were, they'll find out.
Right.
They'll be checking you. You won't believe it. Your whole life will be destroyed because of this press conference. Watch. They'll destroy these people. I didn't want to tell them that before they stood up. But they'll end up being, he's a so-and-so. This one is from you-know-where. Don't worry. I think you're going to be okay.
Sure.
I'll be right behind you. Far behind you. I'll be right behind you. Now, look, we have to take care of our farmers. We have to take care of people that run leisure, hotels. I mean, we have to take care of them. But most importantly, we have to get the criminals out of our country. And Biden let in thousands and 11,888 murderers. Many of them murdered more than one person. Can you believe it? Many, almost 50% of them murdered more than one person. He let them into our country. They emptied out the jails of countries from all over the world, from the Congo, from Venezuela, from all over the place. They emptied out the jails, many of them. I would. If I were running one of the countries, I would have emptied out my prison population into the U.S., and many countries did. And we're getting them out, okay? We're getting them out. Thank you very much. Let's watch this. Brian, go ahead. Are you okay?
I'm just going to follow up on the immigration real quickly.
Yeah.
Can you comment on the impact of the Trump card and how much revenue that's?
Yeah, we have a thing called the Trump card. This has not been done before or thought of. And for $5 million, this is usually people that would either be working for companies like Apple, I think is going to buy a lot of them, because they can't get people into the country. If you come in through the southern border, you have no problem. You can be a criminal, you can be a drug dealer, and you have no problem. But if you go and graduate number one in your class from a great school, you can't get a job because there's no access to getting it. You can't get a green card. So we're going to sell that to people, in some cases wealthy, in some cases not wealthy. They'll be paid for by universities. Look at Harvard. They got $53 billion. That whole thing is coming to an end. It's amazing what we found out. What a disgrace. They have $53 billion. We gave them 5, 6, and some people say it's as much as $9 billion over a short period of time. So that's very much coming to it. They want to make a deal more than, I would say Harvard wants to make a deal more than Iran wants to make a deal, and Iran wants to make a deal. I mean, a lot of things are happening on a lot of fronts, Brian. A lot of good things are happening. And frankly, it's a little bit of a, as we used to say, liberal. Now they say progressive. I use the word liberal. Progressive's too nice a word because they're destroying the country. They're really destroying these liberal politicians are destroying our country. Look what they've done during Biden's 4 years. I mean, we're working on, so much of our effort goes to getting people out of the country that should have never been here in the first place. What he's done to this country, it's not him. He had no idea what was going on. Everybody knows that. It's other people. It's Lisa and this one and that, all these people, all this scum that was around the Oval, the Oval Office or around the beautiful Resolute desk telling this guy, here, do this, do that, and not even telling him. They just go over to the auto pen and sign whatever the hell they wanted to sign. Because say what you want about Biden. He wasn't for open borders. He wasn't for transgender for everybody. He wasn't for men playing in women's sports. but he has no idea what the hell, he has no idea. And they were very upset. They wanted Bernie Sanders. And after about a week of this guy, they said, wait a minute, we just hit gold. This guy has no clue. He'll do anything we tell him. And then they realized they don't even have to get permission. They just go up to the auto pen. That's a subversion. That's a takeover of our government. And you people ought to start looking at it. That's a takeover. Not only did they cheat, I guess you saw yesterday came out with China and the license plates, tens of thousands of cards. They used those cards to vote on the second election, my second, the one 2020. Because as everybody here knows, I won that election by a lot. But the only good thing I can say is this is a much more historic term than I think I could have had as a second term. This is a much more historic election. And now we're going to put up a beautiful flagpole, and we're going to put up a flag. And I hope you enjoy it. And let's see how real people work. These are real people. You're not real people. Your job is too easy. Okay? Thank you very much.
President, how tall is the flagpole?
Close to 100 feet.
Real quick for Pakistan, sir. You have a meeting today with the Pakistani Army Chief of Staff. What are you looking forward to achieving diplomatically?
Well, I stopped a war between Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I think Modi is a fantastic man. I spoke to him last night. We're going to make a trade deal with Modi of India. But I stopped the war between Pakistan and India. This man was extremely influential in stopping it from the Pakistan side, Modi from the India side, and others. And they were going at it, and they're both nuclear countries. I got it stopped. I don't think I had one story. Did I have one story written about it? I stopped the war between two major nations, major nuclear nations. I don't think I had a story written about it, but that's okay. You know why? The people know. The people know. Did anybody write that story about the war? Did anybody? Did you write it? Oh, did you write it? You wrote it.
The Israelis have asked you to get more involved.
Adjustments that need to be made for Marine One departures and arrivals.
No, we put it so that Marine One is very far away. We did it in conjunction with the Air Force, with everybody, and everybody signed off on it.
All right, you've been listening to President Donald Trump just outside of the White House, waxing eloquent on everything from a supposed phone call that he had with Vladimir Putin last night to ending the war, as he called it, between India and Pakistan. Also taking some questions on his immigration policy and even that Trump gold card, where apparently Apple is going to buy a bunch of these Trump gold cards for their employees. Didn't know that either. But let's bring in Holly Williams now to talk more about what's happening in the Middle East, our senior foreign correspondent standing by, who has been listening to the president from Erbil, Iraq. All right, Holly, so to get to the serious news, Israel began its attacks on Iran's nuclear program on Friday, as you know. Now we are 6 days into this conflict. The president, although he said that the Israelis have captured the air, what he really means is that Israel has achieved air dominance over the skies of Iran. What does that mean as far as the operation?
Well, we're pretty focused on the nuclear side of things in Iran because that was Israel's justification for going into this war. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel needed to stop Iran getting its hands on nuclear weapons, and he even suggested that that could happen in just a few months. So far, the Israelis have targeted and killed several nuclear scientists, and they've also hit multiple nuclear sites. That includes Natanz, where the Iranians are enriching uranium up to 60%. That is a step on the way to the 90% used in nuclear weapons. The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the nuclear watchdog, said that the underground section at Natanz actually took several hits. That is where the centrifuges are. That is where the enrichment takes place. Now, Iran, for its part, denies any intention of building a nuclear bomb, but it is enriching uranium to levels that are not needed for civilian use. And just a few days ago, the IAEA found it in breach of its non-proliferation obligations. Now, I think it's really important to point out that experts say, despite all the success that the Israelis have had, these airstrikes will be in vain if they can't take out the Fordow nuclear site, where the Iranians are also enriching uranium. Now, the problem there is it's not just buried underground, it is inside a mountain. And so the Israelis will either need to come up with an innovative solution or perhaps perhaps ask the US for help.
All right, Holly Williams reporting from Erbil in Iraq, where she's monitoring now the 6th day of strikes between Israel and Iran. Holly, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Let's continue this discussion. I want to bring in CBS News foreign policy and national security contributor H.R. McMaster. He's also a former national security advisor during President Trump's first administration, and he joins me now. So, General, before we get into sort of the strategy and the tactics that the Israelis are using and the potential of U.S. involvement in this, I want to ask you about something that the president just reiterated when he was taking questions from reporters. He first posted on his True Social that he wants an unconditional surrender from Iran. And he just reiterated that right outside of the White House, unconditional surrender. Now, to me, my impression and my understanding of what unconditional surrender means is what Germany agreed to at the end of World War II. The Japanese signing that unconditional surrender with General MacArthur watching over them, where we effectively take control of these countries. The Confederate States of America unconditionally surrendering at Appomattox. That's what I think of when I think of unconditional surrender. Is there any, is that what we're talking about, that the president really wants Iran to do, to unconditionally surrender? And would they even agree to that?
I think, hey, Vlad, great to be with you. I think what he really means is complete dismantlement of the nuclear program, of its missile programs, and a very intrusive inspection and verification regime associated with that dismantlement. That's what he said in the next sentence. But I think he's using unconditional surrender, just as like an analogy that is meant to communicate his resolve to the Iranian regime, which has been just devastated. Vlad, I mean, he's right about like the effects that Israel's had. I mean, of course, we've been talking about the effects on the nuclear program, on the missile program, but I think they've killed something like 15 or so, nuclear scientists, and decapitated the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, and taken out a lot of the tools of the regime's repression and brutality, that's aimed at their own people.
Before because we're going to have to cut our conversation short, General, because the Supreme Court has a ruling that we're going to get to. But I really want to ask you about these bunker-busting bombs, which the Israelis do not have, obviously, and the United States does. If we were to send a U.S. strike group to take out this facility at Frodo that apparently the Israelis aren't able to do. They don't have the weaponry to do that. What would that mean? And taking it to the level that we're talking about here, affecting regime change. I mean, we've had reports that the Israelis wanted to take out the supreme leader. Affecting regime change in Iran, where although Persians make up some 60% of the population, there are other ethnic groups within that country. What would that power vacuum look like, given your experience with what we went through with Operation Desert Storm and ultimately the war in Iraq later on?
Well, Vlad, if we do decide to participate in these strikes, it's not just Fodor, but there are a couple of other sites where they have really deep buried facilities. And these are 30,000-pound bombs dropped out of a B-2 stealth bomber typically. And there would be a whole strike package that would go with that. And it would be integrated into the sustain campaign that Israel's already conducted against really the entire missile and nuclear supply chain. So, I think, you hear people say, well, if the U.S. doesn't do it, Israel can't do it. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, the U.S. can actually set them back much further with these larger bombs, but Israel's doing a pretty good job, right now in terms of setting their program back significantly. And then what happens next if there is regime change? Well, the best way for regime change to happen is from within Iran, of course. But what the regime has been very good at doing is demobilizing any opposition. So what you could have is fragmentation, Vlad, like you saw in Libya. And of course, it'd be much worse because Libya was a country like 6 million, and there are 80 to 90 million people in Iran.
Really always great to have your analysis. Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster, my friend, thank you very much. Appreciate it.